ESPN Pensacola, we are hometown proud. Like the greatest pound-for-pound boxer of all time, Roy Jones Jr.
Three-time light heavyweight world champion and former heavyweight champion of the world, future Hall of Fame legend, Roy Jones Jr.
What up? This is your boy Roy Jones Jr. and you're listening to ESPN Pensacola.
JP here. Everyone here at ESPN Pensacola wants to send a shout out to our first responders and healthcare workers at this time. We know it's tough, but we appreciate the work you put day in and day out. We also want to thank our essential workers out there for helping all of us continue to live our lives as normal as possible in this time. For our community, keep rocking it. We are going to get through this. Remember, we were named the #1 strong town in America. That wasn't by accident. We have seen so many people step up and do their part, and we thank all those people for their efforts. We will be stronger for this, and together, we will beat COVID-19.
This is ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM and 99.1 FM, the only local station that talks sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. From Gulick and Wingo to the Sports Drive with Chad Brillante. Plus talk football with Coach K at noon, sports call every Saturday. If you'd like to partner with us as an advertiser or a promotional partner, just give us a call at 262-6000.
You're listening to ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. All sports, all the time. WEBY, Milton, Pensacola.
The following has been produced by Talk Football LLC. Former Florida Gators quarterback, NFL quarterback, and NFL head coach. Coach K. Stevenson has a resume second to none, and now he's sharing his insider information with you. Talk Football with Coach K starts right now on ESPN Pensacola.
Welcome into Talk Football with Coach K. JP here with you alongside former NFL head coach K. Stevenson. On this Tuesday afternoon, hope everybody is doing well, staying safe, and of course practicing, well, social distancing. Look, a lot of things are opening up now, from barbershops to gyms are now open, restaurants at 50% capacity, our beaches are open. Look, it's good news. We're moving forward, but we need to continue to do what got us to that point. And everybody in the community has been doing a fantastic job. Really great to see that, and we're seeing so many great signs. But listen, as we always start off the show, we will continue to do this. I want to thank our first responders and healthcare workers. Listen, these people, as being a military town, we love our military and what they've done, being able to fight for our freedoms, that we can go to the beaches and do what we want here in the U.S. We live in the greatest country in the world, and we thank these first responders and healthcare workers for putting themselves on the front line each and every day in our communities. Listen, look, it goes without saying in a time like this with COVID-19, the job that they've done, how appreciative we are of them. But not only that, just each and every day, I think it brings a realization of what they do day in and day out. And we're so grateful for them. A lot of friends of mine that are first responders and healthcare workers, always good to hear the good signs and the people lifting them up as well and the support that they get. Awesome. I also want to thank, grocery store workers, truck drivers, essential employees, whether you're a gas station, whether you own a restaurant and you've been open this entire time, whoever you are, you know who you are in this, the essential workers who have made our lives as normal as possible in a time like this. It's so tough. You know what? We are so grateful for you putting yourself out there as well. And don't take it for granted, folks. Look, if you see them today, if you're going out, whatever you're doing, just tell them you thank them. You appreciate them. It means so much. A kind word goes such a long way in a time right now where we're supposed to be practicing social distancing and stay. If we don't have to go out as much, don't. But you know what? Nonetheless, we appreciate everybody, including our sponsors and our community, for everything that they do day in and day out. But, Coach, look, we have a ton to talk about, and we have a special guest today. But how are you doing today, my friend?
Doing well, JT.
Awesome, Coach. Look, I know we got Tony Barnhart coming on in a few minutes here after our first break. And look, Tony Barnhart, of course, a reporter for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. He appears on College Football Insider for CBS Sports. Look, you've seen him on ESPN. You've heard him on the Feinbaum Show. He's as well-respected a man around college football as there can be, and we're so grateful he's going to join us. But, Coach, it's going to be really interesting to hear what he's got to say, because he's another person that's on that inside that, you know what, we're all craving the information. We want the news. We want to know what's going on, that what's not being reported. It's going to be really great to hear Mr. Barnhart talk.
Well, it will, and I think you're hearing quite a few people having to back up now a little off statements that they made 2 or 3 weeks ago, or even a week ago or 10 days ago. But Tony is the type guy that stays in touch with the game totally. Certainly stays in touch with coaches, athletic directors, presidents, conference leaders. He's certainly well respected and somebody that they confide in. So it should be a very, very interesting conversation, and I'm sure it'll be something that will apply to somebody that or some team that you're thinking about.
Absolutely. It's that's what everybody wants to know is when is it going to start? You've even heard guys like Feinbaum talk about, listen, he was a guy, we talked about this coach before we came on air, a guy that was negative, and now he's kind of backtracked like you talked about as well. Now he's saying that, listen, he'd be surprised if there's no college football season. And you know what? Speaking on that, Coach, I want to talk about this, our first story here. Governors from New York, California, and Texas, of course, said last night there that professional sports could resume in their respective states in the near future. And that near future is a lot more near than what maybe people think. Now, New York Governor, of course, Andrew Cuomo, said he's encouraging major sports teams in the state to plan to reopen without fans. Hockey, basketball, baseball, football, whoever can reopen, we're ready and willing to be an able partner. And this is what he said yesterday now. He said, I think it's in the best interest of all the people in the state of New York to open up. Of course, California Governor Gavin Newsom, now remember California, not to get in the political side of things, had talked about not even having sports until 2021. Now Gavin Newsom came on and said, listen, we could have fans in his state. We could have sports as early as the first week of June. So, Coach, not only that, Texas, no surprise here with Texas the way they've opened up. They've been aggressive, but you know what? They've had some success here talking about, look, he wants fans and professional sports to be, as early as the end of May. And he even wants Little League Baseball to resume play. He said, as long as parents and you continue to do social distancing, but he wants even Little League mentioning in that, which I think is great. This is the first time, of course, the Little League World Series has been canceled. But, Coach, this is what you talked about. This is, look, people are backing up. And for people that want to say, well, you're sacrificing a lot of lives, listen, a lot of things are changing at this time, too. We won't get into all that, but we're getting good news on from numbers to medications, things like that. I know we still don't have a vaccine, but there's different ways to go about this where you can continue to practice social distancing. And, look, the NFL, Coach, is even experimenting with some face masks now that have some N95 material in them. And this is just another way. Look, we still have plenty of time, but, Coach, this is such a great sign moving forward for us.
Well, too, there's so many things going on right now that certainly point to the fact that we're going to have football. We've been saying since day one, all this happened on this program, there will be football this fall. There's no way that I don't see any way that there wouldn't be football absent a total collapse in our medical system, and I certainly don't see that happening. So, colleges are going to find a way to play, even though it's going to be more difficult, as we've said many times, more difficult than it will be for the NFL to play. But we're going to have pro football, and we're going to have college football. Now, it may be somewhat abbreviated. Seasons may be shortened some. I don't think it will. The NFL could possibly in college, and there's going to be quite a stir about fans in the stands. JP, in college is such a tradition and would be counter to any students on campus and not being able to go to the stadium to see them play. Those things would be very, very difficult. So it'll be interesting to see how that happens. But, you can bet on the SEC, the Big Ten, the ACC, the Big 12, not the Pac-12. I'm still not sure about how they're going to handle that because that's a totally different climate out in California. But we'll see it. I think they'll find some way to, at least most of them, to play. Maybe a few of them, a couple of them won't.
Yeah, I agree, Coach. I think, you know what, it's a day-by-day process like we were talking about. That's where things are ever-changing is what I mean by that. And, just because somebody says they won't play today this is proof right here when you're talking about the governor of New York and California coming out and saying, listen, we can be ready as early as the beginning of June here. So, the SEC, just to remind people, they're going to vote. Now, LSU has already said they're coming back June 1st with their players, but look, the SEC is, well, they're going to have a vote whether they bring players back June 1st or June 15th in just a few days here. I believe it's Friday. So, that's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen moving forward. We know down here it's a lot different than in the Northeast and other places, but you know what? We still have plenty of time. You're seeing some teams make some moves here, like we talked about in the conference of SEC football. It seems that we're going to play. That's what I'm getting here. The ACC is moving a little bit slower, but nonetheless, you kind of expect the same thing here. But, the ACC, one thing to remember, too, is they have some teams up the coast there that are in that Northeast area, so it's a little bit different for them making decisions. But nonetheless, Coach, I want to talk about something. Look, Tony Barnhart's going to join us in a few minutes, but an article that he had wrote here the other day. Now, this is a friend of his, Vince Thompson of Melt. It's a sports marketing agency in Atlanta. He believes that college football will be fine in the long term, but the short term, however, could be painful. And he's just talking about everything going on right now. And I thought it was an interesting article just because of what you're talking about, of things that are different, so whether we're going to have fans in the stands or not. Look, I think sports in general will look different from here on out. We'll get back to some normalcy, but there will be different things implemented. It's a part of life as we continue to learn through this COVID-19 virus. So, Coach, he said one thing that you can bet on is college football is not going anywhere, just because, you know what, if you can secure the brand love of a 20-year-old, you can have it for 40 to 50 years. He said the tradition of college football will always stand. But right now in the next few years, things can be really different. Now, you've seen, like, I believe Furman today canceled some of their programs, but these are smaller schools, and a lot of these schools, when you see this pop up on the ticker on ESPN, do some research, because a lot of these schools, they say that they do it to help, fight the COVID-19, losing the money, but a lot of these schools were already on their way to cut these programs in the first place. We talk about Florida Tech. Florida Tech is a small private school down there in Melbourne, Florida. They were losing some money, and sometimes they cut programs like this. So just because it happened doesn't mean it's going to be tremendous. Now, if we don't play a season, yes, we will have some tremendous losses. But, Coach, looking at this, he said, look, in the coming years it could be tough for some teams, but right now, or in the long term, college football is not going anywhere, and that's something that everybody needs to recognize.
Yeah, and think about the flip side of that. What if, for some unknown reason, they said, which some people thought would happen, but what if they said there will be no football this fall, either college or professional, high school, whatever? No football. We're just going to call it off. I'll promise you, you can't imagine the problems that we would have as a society, I believe, if that happened. You take the number one diversion from a very tough life for most people, and it's football, and you take that away, and you've got a problem, a big problem. And all you have to do is look back to World War II when Roosevelt, the president, they were not thinking about not playing baseball, and then baseball was the game of choice by far. And he said, "No, we're going to play baseball. This country can't afford not to play baseball." So I mean, it's a similar situation. Right now, it's really something that's bigger than many people realize. I know there's some people, maybe some ladies out there that would scoff a little bit at that, but I will tell you, it is a true statement.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's everybody. It's one thing that conversation that before he came on the show with us with Bill Carr. The one thing that I had mentioned was, I think everybody realized that sports has its own place in society now, and he goes, "You're absolutely right. It's awoken a lot of people in a time now where some people scoff at sports, but you know what? You hear everybody, including Coach. You mentioned this yourself, that for the psyche of the people here in the U.S., people scoff at it, but we need sports. It's a way to separate from the life going on and things going on around us. It means so much to this country, and not only that, just financially, what it means as well. This country, it's hard pressed to think of life without sports.
Yeah, well, you're right, exactly, and Listen, they're going to play, and I think we can be especially concerned about what form it takes. I say concerned. I don't mean that in a less than positive way. I mean it will be of some concern if they start the season not allowing fans in the stadium, but we'll adjust to it because we're going to be able to see it on television, and 90% of the country will be able to enjoy football. Now, there are some that insist on being in the stadium, but I think at some point they will gradually allow people back into the stadium, even if they have to do it. If they don't start with full stadiums, that they can do it incrementally as they move along and improve the testing and so on. So just good for all of us that there will be football this fall, and we can look forward to it.
Absolutely. And, Coach, on that note, we're going to go to break. And when we come back, Tony Barnhart, of course, it would be so special to hear. He works for CBS. He's a sports insider for them. You've heard him on the Feinbaum Show before. Just one of the most well-respected men in college football. Will join us right here on Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
When you're looking for a great deal on a reliable new or certified pre-owned vehicle, you can't beat Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola. Bob Tyler Toyota has the best selection in town at incredible low prices. You can check out their amazing inventory from Camrys to Tundra trucks to 4Runners. It's all at Bob Tyler Toyota, and you can find it online at bobtylertoyota.com. Also score a touchdown this football season with the car of your dreams. Again, it's only at Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola.
Hello, sports fans. Miles Bentley here, General Manager at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Pensacola. Growing up, I always loved sports. Nothing but net, out of the park, through the uprights. Sink the puck Bentley, that was me. But my love of the game couldn't beat my love for Pensacola and helping folks get on the road of dreams in a new Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Sure, I never went to the big leagues in sport, but we're all pro here at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Proud to be in Pensacola.
Sometimes your bank, your family, and your friends love you, but they don't have the money to help you. Sometimes we have chances to make money, but the old saying, you've got to have money to make money, rings true. At Pensacola Specialty Pond, we can help. If you have trucks, heavy equipment, airplanes, boats, jet skis, anything with value, Pensacola Specialty Pond can loan you that short-term money you need. No credit checks, and at Pensacola Specialty Pond, you're going to find the money and the discretion you need.
Now at 6428 Pensacola Boulevard, north of Car City. Call 432-9050, 432-9050.
At Costello's Butcher Shop and Deli, you'll find a great selection of specialty and exotic meats. From choice Wagyu, competition-grade briskets, pork, and the seasonings to go with it, all cut to order. From fine wine to cheese and desserts. Yes, delicious fresh cannolis to order. And Costello's has Boar's Head lunch sandwiches from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. daily. Stop in today for one of the area's best butcher shop meats and top deli items. It's Costello's Butcher Shop and Deli, a great place to meet up on the west side of Pensacola.
Welcome back to Talk Football with Coach K. JP here with you alongside former NFL head coach Kay Stevenson on this Tuesday afternoon. Hope everybody is, staying safe, continuing to practice social distancing, getting some good signs around our community here in Pensacola. We do not want to go backwards. So, everybody's done such a great job. Continue doing what you're doing, and we'll get some football soon enough. And speaking of football, one of the most well-respected men in college football here, you've heard him on the Feinbaum Show. You've seen him on ESPN before. College football insider for CBS Sports, a reporter for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. He when it comes to college football, he has knowledge that nobody can surpass, and he's on the inside. So, Coach, listen, I've said too much already, so I'm going to go ahead and let you take the reins.
All right, JP. Tony, we appreciate very much you taking the time to be with us today.
Coach, it's always good to be with you.
Well, listen, I'm going to get right to it, and hopefully we can get right to the bottom of this. The big question now with everybody, of course, is how do we feel the colleges are going to pull off football this fall? Now, I know they will. Certainly the SEC, the ACC, probably Big Ten, Big 12. But in the NFL, it's a lot easier for the NFL to do it than college. But what are you hearing, and what do you see happening there?
Well, Coach, where we are right now, this is going to be a pretty important week in this journey to whether or not we're going to play a college football season. This week, the NCAA Council, which makes a lot of big decisions, they're going to decide whether or not to lift. There's a ban on-campus sports activities that goes through May 31st. We're hearing they're going to vote to discontinue that ban when we get to the 1st of June. And the presidents of the SEC are also going to vote on whether or not to let the athletes come back to campus earlier, maybe as early as June 1st or June 15th. So I think those are two very important decisions. But, Coach, just to cut to the bottom line, I believe we're going to play a college football season, but it's going to be unlike anything we've ever seen. I don't think we'll have some people in the stands, at least early on. But all the signs are pointing to us having a college football season of some kind in 2020.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more. I think that's going to happen. All you have to do is listen to a number of the coaches. For example, Mullen had some interesting things to say the other day, and you read between the lines, and I think these people are getting ready to play. LSU has already announced they're opening up their facilities June 1st. It may be that they have to close them in accordance with the SEC, but they've announced they're going to open June 1st. So I really believe that I don't think there's any way that you could just say there's going to be no college football in 2020. I just don't see that happening ever. But let me ask you a couple of other questions getting into the SEC, Tony. You know, I feel like this year is going to be a very, very interesting year, especially in the SEC. I think with Georgia losing 15 people and all of the hoopla about a transfer quarterback coming in from Wake Forest, I just don't know that Georgia can continue to rule the East like they have. I think this may be the year Florida has a chance to win it.
Well, Coach, when you put everything together, you look at, I've said before that I think the teams that have veteran quarterbacks and the coaching staffs have been together for a significant amount of time. In other words, they know what they're doing offensively and defensively. I think those teams have an advantage, at least early on, because a lot of people miss all of spring practice and most of spring practice, and they're going to have to sort of figure it out on the fly when everybody gets back to campus. So I think that gives an advantage to a team like Florida, with Kyle Trask, a veteran quarterback, Dan Mullen, and that staff have been together for a long time. Defensive coordinator Todd Grantham is back. So I think, when the votes start coming in, I think Florida's going to get a lot of votes to win the SEC East. Now, Georgia has a new quarterback, as you mentioned, in Newman, the transfer from Wake Forest. New offensive coordinator in Todd Monken going to put in a new system, but Georgia's going to be very good defensively. So those are two of the more interesting stories in the conference this year.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I'll tell you another one, too, that's going to creep its ugly head up for a lot of people. Mississippi State. You got the wild man now that's the coach out there. Everywhere he goes, he's gonna have an offense that is going to give people problems because they just don't see it. that often, not to the extent that he utilizes it. And they got to transfer a quarterback, Tony, from Stanford, Costello, I think his name is, who's had more production than any quarterback really in the SEC this year. So they're going to be double trouble for anybody playing. I don't care whether you play them at home or in Starkville. It's going to be an eye opener.
Well, Coach Leach throws it about 50 times a game, and it doesn't matter if he's 15 up or 15 down. He's going to keep throwing it, and you don't see that a lot in the SEC. And so I think just adjusting to what he's going to do, he always puts out 5 receivers and floods the zones and things of that nature, and that is a different style. The SEC West is going to be just remarkable to watch. I mean, I think Alabama's ready to win another division. LSU will be good, certainly not as good, but they still have a lot of athletes. Texas A&M, I think Texas A&M with Kellen Mond, there's another veteran quarterback. I think they've got a chance to have a good year. So, yeah, there's that SEC West is going to be appointment television all year long.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. They have been, and certainly they will be again. And this Texas A&M football program is really one of interest to me because I think they have so many tools that people aren't even aware of. For example, being in Texas, a very, very lucrative recruiting area, maybe the best in the country, or one of the best, certainly. And yet they play in the SEC, which is recognized now as the conference, and talking to kids about coming to Texas A&M, still being in the state of Texas, but playing the Alabamas and the LSUs, it's enticing for them. There's no doubt about it. They certainly have the facilities as good or better than anybody in the country. And they have an alumni association that can furnish them with whatever they need in the way of facilities. So it's an attractive place, and I think it's only going to get better.
Well, Coach, I have toured Texas A&M's facilities 2 or 3 times. They're just coming off of they spent $450 million upgrading Kyle Field and the locker rooms and all that several years ago, and it was an incredible thing to see. I mean, their locker room looked like the Starship Enterprise. It was just absolutely unbelievable, and because of the recruiting base and because of the fan base, there is no reason why Texas A&M cannot win a Western Division championship and play for the SEC. And again, I think they're going to have a big year. I don't know that they're good enough to beat Alabama, but I think they're going to have a good year.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more there, but it'll be a heck of a year in the West. Speaking of Alabama, how do you like their quarterback room? What do you see happening there, Tony?
Coach, I think early on Mac Jones will be the starting quarterback. Now, Mac started last year after Tua Tagovailoa got hurt against Mississippi State. Mac Jones started the rest of the year, and I thought played well. He with the break there, they could have beaten Auburn, and but they finished up and they won the bowl game. And Mac Jones has some skill. Now they have Bryce Young coming in from California. And depending on who you ask, he's either the number 1 or the number 2 high school quarterback in America, and he's coming to Alabama, and he's not coming there and not going to get on the field. I'm convinced he's going to get on the field, and so that is going to be an interesting story to watch all year long, and how Alabama bounces back from. In their mind, they only won 11 games last year, so they're really disappointed coming back. So. Yeah.
Well, they've also got Bear Bryant's grandson there, who I understand from certain people that have watched all those quarterbacks play, he may be the most gifted quarterback they have in Alabama. That's what I've heard.
Wow. Well, that will be interesting to watch all year long. They open if things work out, they're supposed to open with Southern Cal in Arlington, Texas. So they're not opening with a cupcake. So that, to me, that will be very interesting to see how Alabama uses their quarterbacks in that very first game.
I think it was Paul Feinbaum who said that opening game may be in jeopardy because of the California governor, but that Alabama had contacted TCU in the event of, I think they opened that week in Berkeley with California. Yep. So maybe they could be left out in Alabama, but they could play right there in Dallas. So interesting happening.
Well, it is. And the thing about it is, the governor Gavin Newsom came out yesterday and said he'd been taking a pretty hard line about there being big crowd, being football games in the state. But he announced yesterday that it was okay for the pro teams to play this fall if there were no fans in the stands. And so he softened a little bit there. But we don't know yet how that applies to college football. Will he let college football teams play without people in the stands? And we don't know that yet.
Yeah, and that's going to be more difficult, just because of the revenue. Well, Tony, listen, I apologize for keeping you on a little longer than I said. I said we'd get you on and off, and I appreciate you taking the time to come on with us. And we'd like to maybe get a little further down the road and see what happens if I can impose on you again to maybe come on with us for 10 or 12 minutes.
I'd love to do it, Coach. Love to talk to you anytime I can. So you give me a call.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
All right. You bet. Take care.
And that's Tony Barnhart right there. Now, Tony Barnhart, of course, we appreciate him joining the show with us. Always good to hear from him. He gets that insight that you don't necessarily hear. He's talking to the people on the inside that, sometimes isn't reported. So it's good to hear. Look, he also feels the way we do as well. Like, we're going to get football here. And we'll see what happens, but I think it's a great point he made as well with the California governor talking about pro sports teams. Remember, we mentioned that at the beginning of the show. Basically, he doesn't know how that's going to pertain to college. That's where everything's still up in the air at this moment. So you know what? I will say from that call, we got some good signs there moving forward, and always good to talk to Tony Barnhart. We appreciate him joining the show, but we're up against a break. Listen, when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about, Gene Chizik releasing his list of top 5 SEC quarterbacks. They may surprise you a little bit, and some local recruiting news. Some players around here getting some, high praise, and one got a great offer to play in one of the most prestigious high school football games. We'll talk about that when we come back right here on Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
When you're looking for a great deal on a reliable new or certified pre-owned vehicle, you can't beat Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola. Bob Tyler Toyota has the best selection in town at incredible low prices. You can check out their amazing inventory from Camrys to Tundra trucks to 4Runners. It's all at Bob Tyler Toyota, and you can find it online at bobtylertoyota.com. Also score a touchdown this football season with the car of your dreams. Again, it's only at Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola.
Hello, sports fans. Miles Bentley here, General Manager at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Pensacola. Growing up, I always loved sports. Nothing but net, out of the park, through the uprights. Sink the puck, Bentley. That was me. But my love of the game couldn't beat my love for Pensacola and helping folks get on the road of dreams in a new Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Sure, I never went to the big leagues in sport, but we're all pro here at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Proud to be in Pensacola.
My grandson always tells me I worry about him too much. Well, I was worried sick when he came home from Afghanistan. He came back wounded. It wasn't a wound you could see. It was post-traumatic stress disorder. My T felt like he didn't fit in anywhere. Then I heard about Wounded Warrior Project. I don't know what they do there, but my T is smiling again.
Many of our warriors return from the battlefield with post-traumatic stress disorder. Help support them at woundedwarriorproject.org.
We are strong, we are resilient, and we will get through this together. But these are stressful times, and it's important to also practice good self-care. It's normal to feel overwhelmed, anxious, or afraid, but there is hope. Reach out to someone, connect with your friends, stay in touch with your community, and know that you are not alone. Learn more at wearebroadcasters.com/hope. Furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
JP here at ESPN Pensacola. We are hometown proud. We love our hometown heroes like Super Bowl champion Seattle Seahawk Doug Baldwin.
They fake, the lob, wide open, touchdown, Doug Baldwin.
Bigger body than Wilson likes to throw to, big target. Here's Baldwin, smaller target, and he ducks in for the touchdown.
Hi, this is Doug Baldwin, and you're listening to ESPN Pensacola.
This is Davis Allen from Sports Call with Davis and Justin, and you're listening to Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
Welcome back to Talk Football with Coach K. JP here with you alongside former NFL head coach Kay Stevenson. Look, on this Tuesday afternoon, we hope everybody's doing well. Just got word, of course, in Escambia County, vacation rentals got the okay to reopen heading into the Memorial Day weekend. And I bring that up because it's such a good sign moving forward with us. But continue practicing social distancing and continue doing what you're doing, what got us to this point. It's very important at that moment. But listen, Coach, before we get into Gene Chizik, now Gene Chizik released his top 5 SEC quarterbacks. I want to talk a little bit local recruiting here. Now, we talk about college football, we talk about NFL. In our high school, we forget how good our high schools are. For people that don't know, maybe you're new to the area, we've got some really good high school football around here. We've got some overall high school sports in general. We have so many athletes. When you look at Pensacola and all the pro athletes that have come from here, you got to understand that it all starts right here in Pensacola. And look, to say the very least, this young man is, one of the most coveted recruits in the Pensacola area. And we'll talk some more about some other recruits later on. But right now, I just want to mention Demarius McGee. Now, if you don't know that name, well, he's a 2021 athlete. He's listed as an athlete. Right now, a 3-star prospect. They're expecting that to possibly go up. But he's got 27 Power 5 conference offers. That's tremendous. So one thing to remember, this young man, of course, he's 6 foot, about 160. He's played just about every position on the football field. And anybody that knows Pensacola Catholic football, what a great job Coach Adams and the squad did last year, of course, getting upset by Willie Taggart's son in the playoffs. Just so much fun to watch them run the almost like a veer wing T style option offense. The defense is so solid. It's always fun to go out there to Gorecki LeBeau Stadium on a Friday night. And look, anybody that knows me, I cover high school football. I love it. There's nothing like it, when you talk about it. But, Coach, this young man earned an invitation to the U.S. Army All-American Bowl, of course, scheduled for January 8th in San Antonio, Texas. It'll be broadcast on NBC. Of course, for people that don't know, it features the East versus the West, and basically it's the nation's top 100 seniors. This goes without saying, Coach. This is what I'm talking about when we have so many special athletes here. To play in the U.S. Army All-American Bowl, just what an absolute honor, and what a fantastic young man Demarius McGee is.
Well, it is quite an honor, an extreme honor, really, to play in that ball game. And very, very few, really, when you think about all the kids that play high school football across the country and how many get that honor, it's just a small percentage. But congratulations to him, and he is a versatile athlete, which I think is going to be in his favor going to just about any school you can think of. But if they have a coach that can make things happen, then certainly his versatility is going to be extremely valuable to him.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. He had, I believe, 47 tackles, 5 pass deflections, some interceptions, 1,200 return yards, over 400 receiving yards. The young man's played every position, like I said, on the football field. And Coach Matt Adams, look, a well-respected man around here, basically has nothing but high praise. And it's always good. Look, I've talked to Demarius McGee before. Just a humble young man. And look, this is a young man that also is getting offers, like I said, from Power 5 conferences, from like Georgia and Oklahoma, Florida State, schools like this. So, look, this is no slouch. And you know what? Awesome. Congrats goes out to Demarius McGee for the invitation to the U.S. Army All-American Bowl. Look, Coach, I want to get into this. Now, we're talking about Gene Chizik's top 5 SEC quarterbacks and, of course, releasing the list. Well, Bo Nix doesn't make the list. Not sure if there's a little, saltiness there. But number 5, we'll start at number 5. Now, he has John Rice Plumlee coming in, the sophomore, of course, at Ole Miss. For people that don't know, Plumlee was, they had a bit of a quarterback battle with Matt Corral last year and John Rice Plumlee. And Plumlee was, he led the team in rushing with over 1,000 yards. Coach, I will say this. I said this yesterday on the Sports Drive. I fault this because I don't really know if John Rice Plumlee, as talented as he is, will fit into Lane Kiffin's offense. Now, Lane Kiffin, we know, he's had some talented quarterbacks at Florida Atlantic, and they've moved on, including one this year that went in the draft. But looking at this, I don't know if he's going to go with a rushing-style quarterback. On the other side of things with Matt Corral, who is a pretty good passer on the other end. But Gene Chizik has in top 5. Coach, I don't know if Plumlee will even be starting for Ole Miss.
Well, that's true, and I would agree with you. I think it's going to be a tremendous amount of competition there at the quarterback position at Ole Miss. I really think there's a chance he will not be starting. I agree with you.
Coach, number 4 here coming in. No surprise he's on the list. Maybe a surprise to some people because of what we've heard about him. Jamie Newman, the transfer out of Wake Forest. Look, if this is the guy that, everybody wants to see play, including myself. Now, of course, Chizik says, look, there's been so much energy about him out there, what he brought to the table for Wake Forest. He's a big, athletic guy based on offensive coordinator Todd Monken's success with quarterbacks in the past. He called the relationship between Monken and Newman a really interesting match between the two of them. Right there, Coach, I think, this will fit because we know how talented he is. We saw him at Wake Forest, and he was a talented quarterback. But now he's in the SEC. This is not the ACC. You're facing the best of the best each and every week. And even more pressure so being at Georgia for post-Jake Fromm era. Remember, Jake Fromm ran a couple good quarterbacks in Jacob Eason and Justin Fields out of town. So, look, these Georgia fans, they expect greatness. And for Jamie Newman, I hope that the pressure's not too much from him coming from a place like Wake Forest. But you know what? I'll trust Kirby Smart and those guys. But, Coach, we talked about it with Tony Barnhart. You mentioned it. They're replacing so much. They're replacing everything pretty much on the offensive side. This is a tall order, but Jamie Newman coming in at 4 on the list. Agree or disagree on this, Coach?
Well, I can't believe a guy that played at Wake Forest had a moderate degree of success, but has gained such stature and has not played it down in the SEC. But I don't know that much about him. We're going to find out very quickly just to what degree of proficiency he can attain. But I don't know that much about him, JP, and would hesitate to put too much on it one way or the other. But I would have my doubts, let's put it that way at this point.
Yeah, I would be with you. I think it's going to be interesting. Look, Todd Monken coming in. Look, this is the worst time. I've said before as well as you have, Coach, I believe Florida will strike this year just because of the continuity of everybody coming back. But number 3 on this list, Coach, Mac Jones. This is the guy. We just talked about it with Tony Barnhart as well in the Alabama quarterback situation. Of course, Tony Barnhart talking about he believes, look, Bryce Young will find a way on the field somehow. But, look, Mac Jones, I think we both agree on this, Coach, he's a prolific passer. He's done – look, in 141 pass attempts, he had over 1,500 yards. He did a good job. He gets a lot of naysay if he, for throwing the pick 6 there in the Auburn game. But it's a guy who jumped in a position where, he probably thought there was going to be one more year, and after last year, then he was going to probably get a chance to start. But he got thrown in there and did a good job. I like Mac Jones. I like the way he throws the football. Chizik says, listen, he's got the weapons around him. And we remember one thing, Coach. We talked about this before. Back when A.J. McCarron and Greg McElroy's and guys like that, they had weapons. They ran the football. I mean, they made it easy on the quarterback position. And Najee Harris coming back this year, I think, is the biggest decision when you're talking about offensively. for that Alabama squad, because there you go. There's your star running back. You know you've got a good offensive line. The quarterback position becomes that much easier for a guy like Mac Jones, where, you know what, even if Mac Jones didn't have a guy like Najee Harris coming back, you still got Jalen Waddle, you still got Devonta Harris, 2 first-round projected wide receivers over there. So Mac Jones, to me, Coach, number 3 on the list, I'll say maybe even move up to number 2 here. I really like Mac Jones.
Well, I do too, and I've said this all along. I like Mac Jones. I think he's going to do a heck of a job. I understand what Tony was saying about the kid from California coming in, and there's a certain amount of recruiting protocol, let's put it that way. If he is the number 1 or number 2 rated quarterback in the country coming into Alabama. Now, being on the field does not necessarily mean that he will take over as starter. I don't think anybody will. I think Jones will play and play well during the season. Now, I think the other kid will get in the ball game some under certain conditions, getting them there for a few plays here or there, and we'll see what other possibilities he may have. So yeah, I can see it, but I don't see him taking over that job. I think Mike Jones is going to do a heck of a job.
And don't sleep on what you mentioned, Coach, a guy that you like a lot as well, Paul Tyson, Bear Bryant's grandson, because one thing I will say is just because that guy's not on the radar doesn't mean he's not on Saban's radar, and what Saban says goes. So we have to remember that. And look, he is the perfect build when you look at the quarterback, a big, tall, about 6'6" guy who can fling it all over the field. So great pedigree as well. But, Coach, number 2 here, this is where I struggle. Now, I'm not a big believer. I love Texas A&M. I think, like you, they're going to have a surprising year for people. They're going to be a program in the coming years to give teams like Alabama a run for their money with Jimbo Fisher and what they're doing there. But Kellen Mond, now, of course, he's a senior this year. I feel like Kellen Mond's been there since back when I was in college. But, last year, about 2,800 yards passing. This is a guy that, I know a lot of people like him because he's that offense, or he's that veteran-style guy that Jimbo needs. I just don't – he's never really won the big game. Now, Chad mentioned this on the Sports Drive yesterday, that you think about a big game Texas A&M's won, and they didn't win any, but Kellen Mond has never been spectacular in those games. He's never really been spectacular overall. I think he's more of a game manager style quarterback. And Coach, when I look at Kellen Mond here, I wish nothing against him. I hope Texas A&M has a good year this year, but I just can't see him being the second best quarterback in the SEC.
No, I don't either by any stretch of the imagination. Listen, number 1, he is not a natural quarterback. I've looked at quarterbacks all my life. He's not a natural. He's a guy that would have been an athlete in another position, but I'm sure in high school, like many high schools do, or used to do, they'd take the best athlete and put him at quarterback. That probably was his circumstance. That's what I'm guessing, because he's unorthodox throwing the football. I don't see him as being a bona fide quarterback. I think they have so many tools out there surrounding him that they can certainly get by with him at quarterback. They have, and I guess you would be looking to benefit from that experience this year, but I don't know if they're going to get it.
Yeah, I agree on that. He's not your generic quarterback, but this guy, I think there's a lot of hype around him just because of Jimbo Fisher and that Texas A&M squad. Now, we'll see what happens. But, Coach, number 1 here on our list, Kyle Trask. I'll agree with this. I think Kyle Trask is going to have a fantastic year. When you look at him, just the intangibles of it, Coach, I know you've talked about it as well, but he's 6'5", about 240, a big kid. Not the most fleet of foot, but he doesn't have to be. When you talk about a traditional quarterback, and not only that, Dan Mullen has gotten some good ones. He's a bit of a quarterback whisperer, if you want to say that. But it all comes down to, I think he's going to have a fantastic year. More so because we saw him step in last year and do a great job, leading Florida to an 11-2 season and a win in the Orange Bowl. This is a guy that fits Dan Mullen's mold, the way that he wants to play offense. He knows the offense now. He's a guy that, was just waiting for his opportunity. And once again, we'll say it, Florida, as bringing just about everybody back. We know they lost some wide receivers, but they also had some good pickups. People forget they got Penn State wide receiver Justin Shorter out of the transfer portal, as well as some other guys. I think it's important for them. I think, they already had so much depth at the wide receiver position. Losing 4 wide receivers to the draft, they've got 4 more guys, and then add Justin Shorter to that mix that are ready to step up now. They had so many wide receivers and had so much depth that guys weren't getting playing time. They could go easily play on any other SEC team and possibly go to the draft. And that's so important when you look at Florida. We know Todd Grantham and that defense is going to be good. They're going to be hard-nosed again. This is a coach, like I've said before, we've talked about it. I think Florida is going to surprise a lot of people. And, I said it. I believe Alabama and Florida will be in the SEC championship game. And we'll see what happens from there, because once you make it, who knows what's going to happen. But, Coach, Kyle Trask, the number 1 quarterback, I would be hard-pressed to disagree with that.
I like Carl Trask. I certainly do. I've said this all along. I think he was a drastic improvement over what they had there. He's very talented and has his feet on the ground. He just does everything. I think he does well from the measurable standpoint, obviously, and from the intangible standpoint, which makes him a very special guy, special quarterback. I think, again, Florida's got a good football team, so they should be up there, especially with him at quarterback. And I think they've got a chance to have an outstanding year. I really do. Alabama, again, I think Jones, I would put Jones, I agree with you, I'd put Jones at number 2 probably. And, I wouldn't think Nick should be too far out of the top 5. He's a fine young quarterback. He's just under that Auburn system. But anyway, Kyle Trask, yes, I'd take him as number one pick.
Yeah, and a couple quarterbacks like you mentioned, Coach. We didn't talk about this. Is Gene Chiswick's, of course, top 5 SEC quarterbacks. But Bo Nix. Look, I think Bo's going to have a good career. I think he's a good quarterback too, Coach. You know that I've got some family here that on the other side that I got to make happy. I like Auburn, I have to say that. But nonetheless, Miles Brennan, is a guy that people need to take note of. Steve Ensminger came out and said, listen, you better get on the bandwagon now because there's not going to be any room once we get started. That's how good that young man is. So keep an eye on Miles Brennan. And then the wild card in this all, we talked about it earlier, Coach, KJ Costello and what he's going to do with Mike Leach. Watch out for those guys because they're going to be really, really sneaky, and they're going to upset some people this year. I just got a feeling. I know they don't, Mike Leach hasn't played defense, but he's got a team now that's got a gritty enough defense. Going to be interesting to see how he's going to change his style. But listen, we're up against a break, Coach. When we come back, we're going to get back to what we did yesterday, talk a little bit about some of the teams in the NFL that had the best off seasons from the draft to picking up in free agency. We'll get to that and more right here on Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
When you're looking for a great deal on a reliable new or certified pre-owned vehicle, you can't beat Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola. Bob Tyler Toyota has the best selection in town at incredible low prices. You can check out their amazing inventory from Camrys to Tundra trucks to 4Runners. It's all at Bob Tyler Toyota, and you can find it online at bobtylertoyota.com. Also score a touchdown this football season with the car of your dreams. Again, it's only at Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola.
There's only one place in town for the lowest prices and greatest selection of firearms. Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range. Visit our fully stocked Gun Pro Shop for new and used firearms, accessories, and ammunition. Check out the Indoor Shooting Range. We offer rentals on guns, including fully automatic machine guns and silencers. Ladies, this is the safe place to learn how to use a gun. Plus, Tuesday is Ladies' Day. Women shoot for half price all day. The best place to buy firearms in Pensacola. Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range. Highway 29 in Car City.
Pensacola's own NFL Hall of Famer Emmitt Smith has some tips for us during this time.
This fight
it's up to all of us to try to help bend that curve. It's going to take teamwork. It's going to take us to stay committed, stay focused, and stay dedicated to the mission at hand, and that is to keep everyone safe. So be encouraging. Find some support. Find someone to talk to every day to encourage them to keep on continuing in this fight. And we will beat this pandemic.
JP here with Talk Football and the Sports Drive. At ESPN Pensacola, we're hometown proud. We love our hometown heroes like Super Bowl champion and NFL Hall of Famer Derek Brooks.
The Super Bowl, and they're trying to win it for us. 3rd down, 18. Dropping Gannon, looking Gannon, throws up the middle. It's intercepted at the 40. Derek Brooks 30. Brooks to the 25. 20. Derek Brooks all the way.
This is former Tampa Bay Buccaneer, Washington High School alum, Derek Brooks. You listen to ESPN Pensacola.
Your ESPN Pensacola Ridiculous Facts, I'm JP. The average lifespan of an MLB baseball is 5 to 7 pitches. What an absolute waste. The longest boxing match with gloves in history was 110 rounds long. It began around 9 p.m. on April 6, 1893, and ended the next day well after 4 a.m. Yikes. Give me a round of whatever they had. That's your ESPN Pensacola Ridiculous Facts. I'm JP.
The latest sports news is at ESPNpensacola.com and on Facebook at ESPN Pensacola. Plus, watch Chad Brillante, Coach K, and Sports Call live on our exclusive YouTube channel, ESPN Pensacola 1330.
Talk football every day with Pensacola's own Coach K.
Credit a great performance by Garoppolo. And I love the way he throws the football. He's got all the things going for him.
Every weekday, noon till 1 on ESPN Pensacola 1330 FM 99.1.
The teams, the games, the fans, the local talk. This is ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
Welcome back to Talk Football with Coach K. JP here with you alongside former NFL head coach Kay Stevenson. On this Tuesday afternoon, hope everybody's doing well. We're talking some football with you. And, Coach, we'll get back into this list here. Some teams, we're talking about teams that had the best off seasons in the NFL this year. And, of course, we mentioned the Miami Dolphins. We mentioned the Cowboys yesterday. A team that I think goes without saying. And you know what? Even if you want to question how much this guy has left in the tank, being 43 by the time the season starts, I think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers had a fantastic offseason. Getting him, what they did in the draft, and getting Tristan Wirfs. Gronkowski's back now. And, of course, Gronkowski will play some type of role in that offense. I don't think he'll be an every-down player. But also they re-signed Shaq Barrett. They re-signed Jason Pierre-Paul and Ndamukong Suh. They're revamping that defense right there, bringing those guys back in a defense that was good last year. Wasn't great, but you try playing behind a quarterback that had almost 40 turnovers and try to be great on that defensive side. But ask the Bears how it goes. But regardless, Coach, I like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I will say, even with what they already had in place, we saw Jameis Winston go to New Orleans there, but they made it very clear that, look, they were going after Tom Brady. A lot of people didn't believe him. And just the offseason starting with Tom Brady, Coach, I think Tampa Bay, they deserve to be toward the top of that list.
I think they're number one. I put them at number one, probably Dallas at number two. Listen, let's think about now the people that Tampa brought on. Number one, of course, is Tom Brady, who's going to make a huge difference, which people don't understand, in every part of their football team, offensive line, defense, the whole ball game. He's going to make a huge difference. So he's going to make them better. And then you get a Gronkowski who will be used, I think, in a very judicious way. You want to get him in there as much as you can, but you also want to make sure he's in there at the most advantageous times for him to be in there, like down around the goal line, inside 20, crucial third downs, those types of things. And then they pick up the best offensive lineman. Now, this is according to probably 3 out of 4 of the people that evaluated that I know that evaluated offensive linemen for the draft. And the kid that got from Iowa was rated the number one offensive lineman in the nation, ready to play immediately, ready to play and ready to help. That's a big boost. They've, like you mentioned, they certainly helped their defense. I think getting Ndamukong Suh with a football team that has a chance to do what they've got a chance to do will give him the initiative needed to have him come back and have a big year. They got some of the other defensive people signed. And keep this in mind with their defense. The last 6 games of the year last year, they came on very strong defensively, played extremely well. And you couple that with the fact that they're going to be better with Brady at quarterback because, number one, they're not going to have the 37 turnovers. And number two, that's 30 interceptions and 7 fumbles. And number two, as importantly, or just about as importantly, is the offense is going to be on the field more and score more points, which is going to leave them better rested to play when they go in the ball game, and also a little better situation for getting after the passer, for example, because I think Tampa's going to be ahead, and people are going to have to throw the football more. So I really see a drastic turnaround in this Tampa football team from A to Z because of what they've done. Now, I hope that makes sense, but it's a total, you're looking at the total picture there, which I think was pretty much a makeover.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you talked about with the defense, they're going to be better. Levante David's another guy they re-signed as well. This is a team that, Coach, now they've got the leadership they need in there. No offense to Jameis Winston. Look, he's a good young player. Hopefully things work out and he can find a job after, whether it's with the Saints or not, moving on. But this is a team, like you said, revamped, ready to reload and go after it. I think Bruce Arians excited, and Tampa Bay fans are finally excited again as well. But, Coach, that sound means it's time for us to go. As usual, we have so much we didn't get to, but we'll get to it tomorrow. We'll get back to this list as well. But it's been a pleasure, Coach.
You bet. Look forward to tomorrow, JT.
Absolutely. And, Coach, we of course, appreciate Tony Barnhart joining us on the show. We appreciate our listeners like you tuning in today. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, talking some football with you right here on Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola.
It's tougher. A, make a catch well guarded by Stephon Gilmore, or B, break up a pass while guarding Michael Thomas. So Devontae Parker went in and said A in the comments of the post. That did not sit well with Michael Thomas, who then replied, quote, "For you, yes, go run some numbers up. Then you can talk. I lapped you, and you've been in the league longer than me, first rounder." So Parker then responded, "Got some hard feelings there, brother? Let me get targeted 300 times a game." Woo! They are talking smack, which is only a reminder how thirsty everybody is for competition right now when we are talking trash over Instagram comments. That's where we are. Lastly, a little bit of sports news that actually have to do with something physically happening. The Belmont Stakes will take place June 20th. No spectators. It'll be shortened from its traditional length, usually a mile and a half. It goes down to a mile and an eighth, that according to the New York Racing Association announcement made on Tuesday. The Belmont's traditionally the third leg of the Triple Crown, but it'll be the first leg for the first time this year, according to ESPN Stats and Info. The Belmont's been second in some years, but never first, and the race has been run at 1.5 miles since 1926. So, getting a bit of a change there, but at least we are moving forward towards something we can all look forward to. It's First Take Your Take on ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, Sirius XM Channel 80. Simulcast, of course, on ESPN News. You can check us out there. We're presented by Progressive Insurance. If you missed the first hour of today's show, I would recommend you go check it out. There's a great interview in the first hour with Dominique Foxworth. Go check it out. It's on demand in the First Take Your Take podcast, brought to you by Capital One. Why settle for average with Capital One? You can open a savings account with a rate 5 times the national average. Welcome to Banking Reimagine. What's in your wallet? Capital One, N.A. member FDIC. You guys are actually fired up about some of the conversation that Dominique and I were having about the Rooney Rule. Is it working? Is it effective? The owners are about to vote on at least a proposal right now that is out there that would give elevated draft status to teams that select a minority as their general manager or their head coach. It would also give draft benefit to teams that allow coordinators or position coaches to leave that are minority candidates to leave for another team if they're taking a better role. So it encourages the movement of minority candidates into better positions. The question is the Rooney Rule working? A lot of you guys chiming in on that. 888-SAY-ESPN, 888-729-3776. We'll get a couple in here. Ross in Idaho. Ross, what do you got? What's your take on this?
Well, I'm kind of surprised that they can't come up with basically a blind hiring process. You don't see a face, you don't hear a voice, you don't get a name. All you get is a resume. And then the decision is based off that resume